everyone, I've got another little video for you. This one is mainly focused on hip and glute strength and stability for your hips, but also some shoulder stability and rib cage and kind of general core stability. So hope you like it. We're going to start lying down on the side. So I want to use your mat as a guide to line yourself up. So you want to have your bottom arm out stretched so you can rest your head on the upper arm. The arm is kind of pretty much level with the back of the mat. And then just shift your hips back so they're level with the back of the mat. And then you can bring your feet forward so they're just towards the front of the mat. So you've got a bit of an angle with the legs, which is just going to help with stability. When we're here, we're just going to take a moment to line ourselves up. So we need to make sure that you're not kind of sinking into the waist here. So we're going to come out of that by lifting up the top leg, reaching that top leg away so the hip moves on top of the bottom hip. And you should notice that here you have a little tiny gap underneath your waist. So I want you to switch on these this belt of muscles around the lower waist and keep it switched on to keep that little tiny gap the whole way through the set of side lying exercises. I'm going to make sure that both of the shoulders are relaxed down, and you can just bring the front hand just in front of the rib cage just to help with stability. So keeping that nice length through the body, we're going to take a breath in, and as you exhale, you're going to float the top leg away, reaching it towards the end of the mat, and then gently inhaling to lower down. I'm going to make it a nice flowing movement, so there's no start or end. We're just flowing with the breath as the leg floats up and lengthens away. So the focus here is definitely on length rather than height. Two more. And on the last one, we're just going to take that leg to hip height. We're going to keep reaching the leg out of the hip socket, and we're going to start to do some tiny little circles as if you're drawing a circle with your big toe. Last one in this direction, and then we're going to pause and go back the other way. So here we're really focused on trying to keep the hips nice and stable so I'm not rocking around. The bottom leg is acting like a bit of an anchor, so that leg is definitely working as well. And we've still got that lift underneath the waist. You can still get your fingertips under the waist, so we know that the pelvis isn't rocking around. Last two. And then I want you to lengthen that top leg away. See if you can lengthen the bottom leg away and possibly hover that bottom thigh up off the mat. So there's a lot of work going on through both legs. I'm squeezing the inner thighs together, zipping up all the way through the centre of the body. And then we're going to float the top arm up and over. Maybe you can float the head up, and maybe you can even float that bottom arm up so we're in a dart position or a torpedo, lengthening the arms and legs away from each other. As we're lengthening the arms and the legs away from each other, we're gathering up through the centre, so we're connecting the ribs down into the hips. So there's a strong core connection here, and we're keeping both shoulders down away from the ears, so there's no tension in the neck. You can always bring the head down if that feels more comfortable. Now hold it for a couple more breaths, and then release. Bring the hand down, and then I want you to bend your knees and have your feet in line with the back of the hips. And we're going to give the lower body a little bit of a break and do some press ups, one arm press ups. So I want you to bring the bottom hand and wrap it around the top side of the rib cage, and then bring the other hand just in front of the shoulder. We're going to take a breath in to prepare, and as you exhale, you're pressing into that hand to lift the upper body. You may be able to come all the way up into a straight arm, or you might just come halfway up, that's fine. Inhaling to lower down and exhaling to press up. Let's do another 3. And last time, pressing up. Releasing back down, and then you can bring the hand and just place the hand behind the head, ready for our clams. So if this position isn't comfortable for your neck, then definitely come back down to lying with your arm underneath your head, or you can bring a cushion and put it underneath your head if that's more comfortable. So again, we're in this position, we want to still make sure that the hips are stacked one on top of each other, and we've still got that tiny little gap underneath the waist, ready for our clams. We're going to take a breath in to prepare, and as you exhale, you're opening out the top knee. Inhaling to close. And we really want to make sure here that the top hip is not rolling back. That hip is staying fixed on top of the bottom hip. So we're only opening out as much as we can using the glute without allowing the pelvis to roll backwards. 7, last one, bringing this up to 8. And then we're going to do another step. We're going to bring the feet up so they're level with the top hip, and exhale to open out. Inhale to close. And again, we're flowing through the movements. The core is still switched on to keep us balanced on the side. We've got 2 more here. Last one. And then one more step, we're going to open out, we're going to extend that top leg, and then bend to bring the feet back together and close. Make sure the shoulders still nice and relaxed, you haven't gathered up any tension there. Four more. Probably feel your glutes burning by now. I know I can. And then release the feet down. Give that hip a little rub. And then we're going to stretch it out. So I want you to roll over onto your back. And you're going to place the foot that you've just been working onto the opposite knee. Allow that hip to open out. And then float the knees in towards you. If you can catch hold of that thigh, then do, but make sure that you're keeping your shoulders released down into the mat. We don't want to be crunching up around the neck. So just work within your range. Nice to have the foot flexed to help protect the knee. And just to ease the leg in towards you to stretch out the glutes. And then we'll release. I want you to roll yourself up, and you can swing yourself over to do the other side. So starting off by lining ourselves up with the back of the mat. You're going to lengthen out the bottom arm, rest the head on that arm, and then bring the feet just a bit further forwards. It's worth taking time to set yourself up so you've got a good starting position. Reaching that top hip away, making sure you've got that little tiny gap underneath the waist. You should be able to fit your fingers underneath there. And then the top hands down just to help with balance, and we're exhaling to float the leg up, inhaling to lower it down. Core switched on. So a lot of the challenge here is balance. And last one, bring that leg to hip height, and then we're going to circle. So nice small controlled circles. You need to pay attention to the precision in the shape of the circle, see if you can really make it a perfect circle. I've lost count, let's go back the other way. And most importantly, keep reaching that leg out of the hip. The straighter you can get the leg, the more work it's going to do. Last one. And then we're going to come into that torpedo. So we're going to lengthen the top leg away, float the bottom leg up to meet it. Both legs are lengthening out of the hips, out of the waist. And then see if you've got your balance to take that top arm away, keeping the shoulders down away from the ears. And then we're going to find that length and strength through the centre. So use your breath to help you connect the bottom rib in towards the hip. One more breath. And then we'll float the top arm down. Release the legs. And then you can bend the knees in. Bring the feet in line with the back of the hips. And we're going to come into our one arm press up. So we're going to place the bottom hand around the top ribs. Just try and move that shoulder out of the way so you're not all bunched up. Bring the hand down in front of the shoulder. Taking a breath in, and as you exhale, lifting away from the mat. Inhaling to place yourself back down. These are quite hard, so we're just going to do 5. So this is really nice work for the bicep, but also a lot about shoulder stability. Release back down, ready for the clam, so you can come up onto the elbow if that feels comfortable, or you can keep the arm down. Make sure that we're not collapsing into the waist, we're still keeping that lift through the abdominals, and we're exhaling to open out, inhaling to close. Have a little check that your top hip is not rocking back. So you really have to squeeze the glute to be able to open out that knee. Last one like this. And then we'll float the feet up, level with the top hip. Exhaling to open out, inhaling to close. So each progression just adds a little bit more challenge. And then we're going to add on that leg extension. So we're going to open out, extend the leg completely, bring the feet back together, and then close. Making sure you're not gripping through the shoulders. Let's do 2 more. Getting the thigh bend. Last one. And release it down. Give it a rub or a whack. Whatever you need to do to release that muscle, and then roll yourself onto your back to stretch it out so that leg that's just been working, place the foot onto the opposite knee. Open out that hip, and then if you can, hug it in. You don't have to, you might get enough stretch. Just bring the foot onto the knee, that's fine. Shoulders are released down, and we're just breathing into the stretch. And we're going to release, we're going to roll over onto all fours. So roll yourself over and come up onto the hands and knees. Again, we're going to take a moment to check out our posture and alignment here. So we need to make sure that the knees are hip width and directly underneath the hips. The feet are in line with the knees and the toes are untucked to start off with. The fingers are going to be spread out nice and wide. So get as much distance as you can from the baby finger to the thumb. And then the hands are underneath the shoulders. Shoulder blades are released down the back, and you're lengthening from the top of the head down to the tailbone. We're going to start with some scapular isolations. So as you inhale, you're going to sink the rib cage down in between your straight arms, and as you exhale, you're going to press away from the mat, So lift the chest up between the shoulders. The shoulder blades are sliding around the back as you do this. Inhaling and exhaling. So it's a small movement and we're just isolating the scapula. We're trying our best not to flex and extend the spine here. A lot of Pilates exercises are all about isolation of a particular part of the body. Got 2 more. And we're going to finish up somewhere in between there, but I want you to feel like your shoulder blades are spread out nice and wide across the back. So we're thinking about our shoulder stability here. We've got the shoulders placed in that best optimal position. My elbows are ever so slightly soft. The inner creases of the elbows are facing each other and I'm lengthening out through the spine. This time we're going to stabilise through the shoulders and mobilise the pelvis. So as you exhale, I want you to tuck the tailbone down in between the thighs and inhales to stick your bottom out behind you, extending. Exhaling to flex the lower back, tipping the pelvis, inhaling to extend. So we're not doing a cat and cow movement here, we're doing some pelvic tilts. So it's just the pelvis and the lower few vertebrae that are moving. The shoulders are staying nice and stable. And just one more, and then we're going to come back in between there, so we're in a nice neutral spine. My shoulders and my pelvis are going to stay stabilised now as I'm going to move the arms and the legs. So I'm going to take a breath in to prepare, and as you exhale, you're going to slide opposite arm and leg away without disturbing the position of the pelvis or the spine. So if you can come all the way up to hip and shoulder height, that's great. If you need to keep it down on the mat, then that's fine, but I want you to make sure that this all stays nice and engaged. We don't want to come out of neutral and arch the back. So we're inhaling to come back and we're exhaling to extend away, inhaling back to centre. So strong connection through the centre of the body, and again it's that feeling of opposition as the arm and the leg are reaching away from each other. You're connecting the bottom rib to the opposite hip bone. So we're only taking the arm as high as you can without having to bend the spine. And make sure you keep looking down at your mat, in front of and in between your hands. So pick a spot and keep looking at it. As soon as you can see your knees, you know that you've dropped your head. So make sure you keep the head lifted and the spine lengthened. And I'm just going to do one more. And then bring the knees down, open your knees out as wide as your mat. Sit your bottom back onto your heels and slide the arms away in front of you for child's pose to release. If you can bring your forehead down onto the mat, then great. And slide your shoulder blades down the back as always. And just take a few breaths into the back of the ribs, stretching the back of the body. And then we're going to bring ourselves back up into 4-point kneeling again. So bring your knees back underneath your hips, hands underneath the shoulders, spine is in that nice neutral lengthened position. And we're going to do thread the needle to stretch the shoulders and rotate the ribs. So we're going to open the right arm out at a right angle. And then as we inhale, we're pressing into the left hand, lifting up away from the mat. And then you're going to exhale to thread that right arm underneath. Inhale to open up and exhale to thread it through. So it's all about rotation through the ribs, Stretching out the shoulders, making sure you keep the hips high. Last one. Exhale to thread it through. And come back into 4-point kneeling. Recenter yourself before you do the other side. Inhaling to open out. And exhale to thread it through. Reaching that arm away as you thread it through. And bringing out all of the stale air. Last one. And come back into 4-point kneeling. Next we're going to really target the abdominals with a little 4-point hover. So we're going to tuck our toes under and come back into that nice 4-point kneeling position. We're going to take a breath in to prepare. As you exhale, I want you to stabilise through the shoulder blades, lift up strongly through the pelvic floor, draw the tummy button up towards the spine as you float the knees just an inch away from the mat, and inhale to lower them back down. Exhaling to float the knees, connecting through the centre, inhaling to lower back down. Let's do 3 more. Last one. Lift that down and tuck the toes. Last exercise here. We're going to do a tricep push-up. So these are challenging, so only do as many as you can. Again, we're making sure that the hands are placed nicely underneath the shoulders. And then I want you to hinge your weight forward so the weight is shifted over the hands. We're going to inhale to bend the elbows back towards the sides of the ribs, keeping the spine nice and long. And as you exhale, you're pressing up away from the mat. Inhaling, so the head is coming down way in front of the hands. And exhaling to press up. You don't have to go very far. I want you to really just make sure that you're working with good form. Inhaling down and exhaling to press up. Last one. Exhale to press up. And then we're going to sit back again into child's pose. This time I want you to come up onto the fingertips, so we're really going to stretch out the shoulders. So release your ribs down in between the knees. You can open them out a little bit wider if you need to. And have a little sway from side to side, nestling yourself in. And then release the forehead down. And come right up onto those fingertips, slide the shoulder blades down and back and stretch out through the shoulders. It should feel really nice. I'm going to transition out of this nicely. So you want to stack the spine up from the tailbone. So place the palms down on the hand and start to curl the tailbone under, in between the thighs, as you gently slide your hands back in towards the knees, restacking the spine one vertebrae at a time to come up to sitting on your heels. When you get there, I want you to bring your knees back into parallel and then come up onto the fingertips so that you can tuck the toes under. And then I want you to sit back onto the heels. We're going to stretch out the feet. So if all of your toes aren't tucked under, just reach around and tuck them in, and then lengthen the spine and just sit back on the heels, stretching out the soles of the feet. So sitting back, stretching out the soles of the feet. You've got the spine nice and long. And then come back down onto the fingertips and roll onto the balls of your feet. And I want you to see if you can come up into a little hover here. Can you bring the shoulders up on top of the hips? Make sure that the ribs are settled into the body nicely. in. And as you exhale, press down through the heels as you stand up. Breathe in at the top and exhale to bend the knees as you lower back down. Knees are staying parallel. Exhale to press up. If you've got bad knees, then definitely don't do this. Just come up how you normally would from the mat. Last time. Exhale to stand up. And then give yourself a little wriggle and we're all done. Thank you.